Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the City of Farmers Branch regular City Council meeting. It is Tuesday, February 15th, 2022. The time is 6:01 p.m. Before we get going, I do want to recognize some special guests, real who's of mayors in the house. We got Mayor Bob Phelps, D. Phelps, and then we got the Dodds. John, I see you over there. John Dodd as well. So what's it like on the other side, you know? I'll be joining y'all soon. So. Well, we will begin as we always do with our invocation and pledge of allegiance. If we can all stand if you can. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you tonight asking for your blessing as we gather this evening. We pray for your guidance in the matters at hand, and ask that you clearly show us the way to provide good governance for our community. We ask that you watch over and keep safe our first responders as they endeavor to keep us the same on a daily basis. We ask that you grant us all grace, patience, and prudence as we plan for our city, our residents, and our businesses. We ask all this in your name, Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen. Now the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now the Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. So next up is our ceremonial items. First is the presentation of the 2022 Witness to History Award to Judy Bird. And Judy, if you'd like to come up. Here we are. At the November 18, 2021 Historical Preservation and Restoration Board meeting, the board voted unanimously to recognize Judy Bird with the Witness to History Award. This award was created to recognize longtime Farmers Branch residents and/or organizations that have contributed to the city of Farmers Branch in an outstanding manner. To qualify for the Witness to History Award, an individual must reside in Farmers Branch for 50 years or more, and an organization must be active for 50 years or more. In addition, award winners are selected based on their significant contribution to the city, and none more fitting than tonight. Judy Bird has been a Farmers Branch resident since 1961, when she moved to the city with her husband Joe and their 3 children. She credits being a member of the First Baptist Church in Farmers Branch for her knowledge of early Farmers Branch history. Judy was a hands-on witness by helping Miss Alma Broadhurst to get elected as the first woman on the Farmers Branch City Council and has been involved in many elections since. Judy's love for Farmers Branch and its history played a huge role in the historical park, obtaining the old church from Renner, Texas, where members of the Marsh family were parishioners. Her devotion for the historical park and our shared history was made evident when she donated the last remaining windmill in Farmers Branch. The windmill was located on her family's property on Keenan Bridge Road. Judy has seen many changes in the landscape of Farmers Branch, from the development of the Four Corners to the Dart rail line and the creation of Mustang Station. Judy helps make Farmers Branch an outstanding city by being a wonderful advocate for our collective history and by preserving it for future generations. And as you can see by some of the mayors that are here and other members from our community who have long-standing, it is a tribute to Judy, who she is a person, what she means to this community, and what she's done. Her influence, her passion, your connections, all the things that you made possible, definitely behind the scenes, has really helped shape this city. And we wouldn't be where we are, we wouldn't have had the leaders that we had without your support and help. And they wouldn't have been able to achieve the things that we've been able to achieve for all the residents here in Farmers Branch over the 50 years that you've been here. Without your guidance, without your love, and without your dedication to what I will say is your hometown now, because you've been here longer than you lived anywhere else. So, before I pass it over, we got some historians of the city here. I will ask if Mayor Bob Phelps or Mayor Dodd want to share anything as well before I pass the mic off to Miss Judy Bird. Come on up, Mayor. It's your right.
Well, Mayor, I hadn't planned to do this, but since it's Judy, I will. Many years ago, I think it was 1963, she came to me and she said, you need to get involved in politics. You need to run for city council. So she pushed me out the door and we did, and we won. And that was 24 years later now. We've had 11 elections in Farmers Branch. 2 of them were runoffs, but Judy pushed me on every one of them. She and my wife walked every street in the city, called everybody, talked to everybody, and just totally interested in politics. And she did a super job. Judy, you're a one of a kind. I love you, dear.
Thank you, Bob.
Never done you to turn down the microphone, John.
Always there. When you got a pretty lady in front of you, always take the opportunity.
She's running again.
Never stop.
You didn't know you were going to be at Saturday Night Live, but when I first got involved, this lady, I didn't know her. They said, you don't know Judy Bird? You're not flying in the right way if you don't know this lady. She makes things happen. And we had this little issue. You guys never heard of issues, I'm sure. But she says, John, we need religion in the branch, because she's the #1 Baptist. And we got talking about the church and the historical park. We had a few hysterical moments, but she got it, she worked it out, and we have had such good success there, not only bringing love to Farmers Branch, but having couples bring love to themselves by the weddings there. And if you have somebody who would like to have a wedding there. Now, if they're more my age or more Bob's age, you might want to have, I gotta put this politically correct, a memorial service. And that's a great place, because that's where all history is. And that's where, if you don't know, everything that started in the city of Dallas, in North Texas, that historical park represents. That's where it was so important for her to have the church, because the first church, it wasn't Baptist, so it was Methodist, but we're not going to discuss that one again. And the first school all started here, the first business. And you people have been keeping that tradition of economic development, low taxes, and good people here in the branch. Because here in the branch, you've got a city that you can be born here, live here, work here, and go to a better place in heaven. You don't have to move. It's thanks to you, Mayor, and thanks to this lovely lady, because she will get out and work for you, and she did a good job for us, didn't she? Bob, Dee, and Betty, and all. Thank you for letting me say something.
So on this plaque, it reads, Farmers Branch City Council and the Historical Preservation and Restoration Board recognize Judy Bird as the 2022 recipient of the Farmers Branch Witness to History Award. We all help me in congratulating Judy Bird.
I'm overwhelmed by all of you and for the many wonderful things you had to say. Some of them are true. Anyhow, as of September the 1st last year, I've been here 61 years, and I have enjoyed so many ways to volunteer. I volunteer with the police department, and that was always a wonderful experience. In fact, I was with one of them one night when we chased a guy down LBJ going 90 miles an hour, I think, and we got him. And then he said, well, let's get out here and catch us a drunk. Well, the next car that came along going north, it was going whoopity whoopity whoop. It had 4 flats, and it did have a drunk in it, and he got stopped and rolled up to Valwood Parkway. So if you want to work with the police department and have some wonderful experiences, I would suggest you do that. And then Mayor Dye, Mayor Dodson, Mayor Phipps, and other mayors that I could think of, I had a part in your campaigns, and campaigning was always a wonderful thing. You didn't know whether you were getting people out to vote or not, so you just kept trying. And I'm thankful that so many friendships have been made in this community, and I thank you all for coming tonight. And I'm overwhelmed about it because I didn't realize that it was going to be this big a deal. So it's a big deal, and I really appreciate it, and thank you so much.
You know, Paul, really want to know who the mayor was? That's a real camera over there. Oh. Are we? We're on a roll here.
Next is consider accepting a donation in the amount of $1,500 to be used in the Parks and Recreation Department and take appropriate action. An anonymous benefactor would like to make a donation, as stated, in the amount of $1,500 to be used equally by the Farmers Branch Community Recreation Center, the Farmers Branch Aquatic Center, and the Branch Connection. Again, we have wonderful residents that love to give and love to give to their passion projects, and I know that our Parks Department is going to use this money in a very good way to hopefully bring some good to our community on behalf of this anonymous benefactor. So, do you want to say a few things? Or you just want the check? I need them to approve it first, and then we'll hand it over, and then we'll give it to Sherelle. So with that, I will make a motion to accept the donation of $1,500 and amend the 2021-2022 budget as required.
I'll second.
Ooh, I think Councilmember Williams got that one. So we have a second. Is there any more discussion?
Third.
Fantastic. You still want them to vote on the, all right, so now will be a time to cast your vote on your iPad there. Delightful. Passes unanimously. To whoever this is, thank you very much.
Just want to say our philosophy in Parks and Rec is we never turn anybody away for lack of resources or funds. This particular person knows that, and so the $1,500 will go a long way towards helping kids that need it and seniors and on down the line. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Next is the city manager's report on items of community interest.
Thank you, Mayor. The Mansky Library has a book drive underway. World-renowned artist Mike Stilkey is coming to Farmers Branch for a massive art installation, and we need to collect 8,000 books for this project. No textbooks or children's books, please. Bring them to the Mansky Library on any of the next 3 Saturdays between 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. Get ready to jam. The 2022 Didn't Drive Live concert series has now been announced with tribute performances to Kenny Chesney, Jimmy Buffett, and Fleetwood Mac, among many others. Join us the second Saturday of each month from April to September at the Grove at Mustang Station. Learn more at didn'tdrivelive.com. The city's new utility pay system is up and running. Instructions on how to sign up are on the city's website at farmersbranchtx.gov/utility-bill. All late fees for city utility bills will be waived for the billing cycle from February 2nd to March 2nd. If you have any questions, call customer service at 972-919-2525. Have you ever considered becoming a citizen on patrol? It's a group of volunteers who supplement our police force. You might be on patrol, help with search and rescue, or conduct a house watch. Contact Officer Steve Rutherford at 972-919-9135 or rutherfords@farmersbranchtx.gov. If you need help getting connected to the internet or paying for the service, a new federal program can help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit Program, created to keep low-income Americans connected to the internet. You can apply at acpbenefit.org. Do you know the city now has solar panels on our Community Recreation Center, the Mansky Library, and Fire Station number 2? They were completed almost a year ago and have already produced almost 600,000 kilowatt hours from the sun's rays, saving the city over $62,000 in electricity costs. The Margaret Young Natatorium will get a similar set this year. Don't forget that early voting is now underway in Dallas County. It runs through February the 25th. The Texas primary will be on Tuesday, March the 1st. The Mansky Library will be a polling location. The last day to apply for a ballot by mail is February the 18th. And finally, you can sign up for e-news at farmersbranchtx.gov to have current city news and information delivered weekly. And with that, Mayor, that's the city manager's report. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is citizen comments. There's a 3-minute time limit for each citizen to speak. No disparaging or inflammatory remarks directed at any member of the city council or staff will be allowed. We have one person signed up to speak tonight. That is James Lockridge.
Good evening, James Lockridge, 2053 Willowwood Drive, Grapevine, Texas. I am here again, guys. Mayor, you keep saying that you're going to have people reach out to me. That's a lie. So I did something even better. I had state representatives pull up the laws for Texas agriculture. And it's very clear under Texas agricultural laws, this is just one example, that the land, and I will read it to you, that the land must be used to the fullest of its ability. It must be devoted principally to agricultural use. If the land is not used to the intensity and the degree of its ability, I can lose my ag exemption. Okay. Now, your laws that you said do not affect farmers and ranchers very clearly does, according to the state agricultural laws. And let me introduce the word state. Okay. If your attorney had done his job, he would have saw these laws. Very simple. I wouldn't have had to go to the Capitol to get these laws. Okay. So your law of telling me I have to mow 50 feet, 250 feet, or 25 feet, for that matter, it literally causes the appraisal district to take my ag exemption away from me. Now, the next thing that I found out through the Attorney General's office is you collect city taxes, correct? Therefore, if you're collecting city taxes to maintain the city of Farmers Branch, why are you not maintaining your easements and right-of-ways? Atmos maintains theirs. Encore maintains theirs. The Texas Department of Public Safety maintains theirs. Valwood maintains theirs. Why is the city coming after me, writing me tickets for my easements and my right-of-ways? Doesn't make sense, does it? The next question that I have for you is, you tell me that it's illegal to store hay bales on the property, but on the state law, pointed out by 4 state representatives, very clearly says that there cannot be a nuisance act brought against an agricultural farmer if the land is devoted and used by agricultural purposes. The use of a barn, the use of a tractor, the use of a cow, the use of storage of hay bales. But yet your city wants to write me tickets for use of storage illegal on my property as an agricultural improvement. Now, I did this on my own, and I've come to y'all for months. You've made so many empty promises to the farmers and ranchers of Farmers Branch, which is me. I think I'm the only one left. You have caused landowners tons of money that they should have never paid because you collect city taxes to maintain your easement and right-of-way. In one of my fields, there's over 10 signs for vote here, vote there.
10 seconds.
So if you're allowed to put your signs in my right-of-ways, take them off. Get them out of my fields, get them out, or start maintaining your easements. Because I'm fed up. Don't make me or the citizens any more empty promises. Charles Cox, I've called you till I'm blue in the face. Answered the telephone.
That's your time, sir. Thank you. So as you know, City Council is limited in our response, or responding to inquiries or comments during citizen comments as long as they are not posted on the agenda. And our comments need to be factual. And so Mr. Lockridge, again tonight, much as he has done in the past during citizen comments, a portion of the council meetings made what I believe to be misleading and false statements deserving of such factual context. And here are those facts. At the request and direction of the Farmers Branch, residents and city council property maintenance standards were proposed to address nuisances and other property conditions or uses necessary to prevent fire, rodent, vermin, infestation, and other hazardous property conditions. These proposed changes are standards that many cities have adopted and which allow the property owner to maintain their agricultural exemption. Property owners were provided 2 weeks prior notice before those changes to review said proposed changes, and no comments were received from property owners. Council overwhelmingly approved these measures, and since that time, city staff has been enforcing the ordinance, resulting in numerous citations being issued to the legally responsible party, the property owner. Mr. Lockridge is not a listed Farmers Branch property owner or resident, nor a Dallas County resident. And over the past year, Mr. Lockridge has met with or spoken with numerous council members, city staff, and the mayor, as we found out again tonight. Regardless of whom he's talked to, our voice, the city voice, has overwhelmingly been the same. Properties in Farmers Branch must be maintained to the approved standards, and Mr. Lockridge is welcome to exercise any available legal remedies. So thank you, Mr. Lockridge. Next is our consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Mayor, move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ratana,
Second.
second by Councilmember Driscoll. Is there any more discussion? Seeing no one requesting to speak, I will ask you all to mark your vote at this time. Motion passes 5-0. Next, public hearings. I-1, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3723 for a specific use permit and detailed site plan for gasoline service station and laundromat self-service on an approximate .51 acre property located at 14300 Josie Lane and take appropriate action. Mrs. Sen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everyone. Shuruba Sen, Planning Department. So the property in front of you tonight is about, shown on this aerial photo, is about half an acre, zoned local retail 2. Right now, there is an existing gasoline service station and a small 1,400 square foot convenience store located on this property. The request we have received from the applicant is to demolish the existing building and construct a much larger, about 5,000 square foot convenience store, laundromat, and a retail lease space. What the applicant has informed us is that they don't know who the prospective tenant will be of the retail lease space. It's a speculative space that they're also adding. So SUP for gasoline service station as well as laundromat is required under LR2. Right now, the property does not have an approved SUP, so it's a legal non-conforming use. Our zoning says a legal non-conforming use as it stands now can continue to operate, but you cannot expand or add another legal non-conforming use to it. So that's why this SUP application is in front of you. If this is approved, then the property will come into full compliance. This is the proposed detailed site plan on the left side of your screen, as well as the proposed conceptual landscape plan. They are proposing to remove one of the existing drive approach on, if you can see my cursor, on Cooks Creek Place, and maintain the 2 existing drive approaches on Josie. It's a corner lot which requires them to meet required front setback for corner lots, which is 25 feet. And it's also stated on their recorded plat, which this proposed layout meets. They're also requesting to remove one of the existing gasoline pumps and maintain the 4 gasoline pumps as shown on the plan. They're adding landscaping. These are proposed crib models. There is an existing city sewer line running across the back of the property as well as along Cooks Creek Place. That's why they could not propose shade trees. Rather, ornamental trees were accepted by Public Works. They're also adding a dumpster screening wall and dumpster landscaping, or screening around the dumpster wall. The existing sidewalk, and there are 2 additional crib models proposed along Josie. The layout and the interior floor plan shows this central portion is going to be the laundromat, and then the 3-suite orientation is going to be finalized when they come in for the building permit phase, where the smaller suite is going to be the retail lease space, and the larger suite is going to be the convenience store. This is the proposed building elevation, the color building elevation. The reason for me showing this to you is when they had originally presented the building elevation at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the commission had requested for a muter tone color, and that's what they have changed between the P&Z meeting and now. Also, this glazing or the storefront, the color is basically signifying tinting, and the applicant is here. He can explain that better. I mean, that's not going to be the color of the glass. The central area plan designates this area as the retail district, as shown on this land use map. So the retail district proposes localized services for adjacent neighborhoods, dry cleaners, pharmacies, convenience store, a general one-stop shop, easily accessible. So therefore, the existing gasoline service station, as well as the proposed uses, the laundromat and the retail store, is consistent with our comprehensive plan. On January 10, Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the specific use permit. The applicant is present here tonight, and he'll be happy to answer any question you have. The one thing I did want to point out is the way the building stands now, they can continue to operate without going through any SUP process. The reason they're going through this SUP process is because they're trying to expand, and they are making significant investment on their property. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Ms. Sen, thank you very much. Does anyone have any? Councilmember Ratana.
I do. I have a couple of questions for you, and I think the representative thereafter. So you just mentioned that currently, as it stands, the use of this space currently accommodates gas station, convenience store, and even a laundromat?
No, right now it's just a gas station and a convenience store.
Just a gas station, convenience store, okay. And I think my next question probably goes to the representative or owner, if they are here.
Name and address, please.
Name is Farid Gajiani. Address is 4540 Illinois Street, Kerala, Texas, 75010.
Thank you so much for being here. So the way I see it is you'll have the retail on one side, the laundromat in the middle, and then the convenience store that I assume is connected to the gas station on the far left side, correct?
Mm-hmm.
I just had a quick question. So when looking at this space, there are 5 laundromats within a 1 mile extension. And so can you give me any reasoning as to why the laundromat portion was decided to be added into this particular space? I feel like there's definitely other types of uses that could be at this space. It is a, you know, the specs of the building look great. Just curious if you have any intel on that, if you did any research, any data.
Well, basically what we see and what we did was that when we looked at the other businesses around us, there is more potential to have a laundromat. The owner has experience in the laundromat in the previous businesses. They feel comfortable about running a laundromat. At the same time, if you look at the current laundromats around the areas, they are pretty old. I haven't been in there. I'm sure the owner must have. But what we're trying to bring is give a better service, more better equipments, and more services to the neighborhood area.
Okay. So do you have any data to support, other than anecdotal, what you said driving around, do you have any specific data to support that there is, you know, maybe high peak hours in other areas, or have you heard any needs from residents and needing another alternative? The reason I say this is because, you know, we have economic development plans. We have plans, you know, as a city, as a council in different areas of our city. And I do feel like this area has been neglected. And although I will say I do love what you're doing with the new renderings, it looks clean, it looks sharp. I'm fearful that we allowing for such things in this area may give the perception that we are, you know, ignoring really a potential for an area that does have a lot of traffic. And so just like we're doing in other areas of the city, I just want us to keep that in mind. You know, if there is a need for something like this, I definitely don't want to take that need away from our residents. So thank you for that intel, because I do see that there are a lot of older apartment communities around there that don't have washer dryer, you know, abilities within. And so I know that the one next to the Sonic is quite busy, but and the walkability is also an issue as well for a lot of our residents. But anyways, just appreciate your time. But I do want to challenge us as a council to look at our entire city when it comes to just future planning. But thank you for the product. I think it's a good product, and I appreciate you doing business here in Farmers Branch. Thank you so much.
Sure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any comments either for the applicant or Ms. Sen? Councilmember Lynn.
You could pull your mask down if you could. It might be a little easier for us to understand you. So my question is, if we do not allow the laundromat, and I was aware of 4, not 5, so you're probably right, in the area, would it be your intention to still move forward with the building renovation, whether you have permission to do a laundromat or not?
Well, I'm just representing the owners. I'm representing the owner. As far as I understand, if they do not get the approval to move forward, they would not spend any money. Because when we look at spending money, the reason they wanted to expand is to give a better ambience, better building in the area. If the laundromat, which is the big portion as we saw in the map, which is a big portion of the building and a huge investment, there is no need for them to spend any more money on the building as it is, which has already been operational for the last several years.
Okay. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions at this time? Nope. Okay. This is a public hearing. We do not have anyone signed up to speak. So with that, it's either more discussion or someone needs to make a motion. Councilmember Lynn.
So I'm just curious to hear from other council members to know whether or not they feel as though another laundromat in the area is needed, or whether we're overpopulating the area with laundromats. I would love to see the building changed, but I'd just like to know where everybody else thinks in regards to the additional use.
So I'll just reiterate, again, like the specs, I am very hesitant just because of the use itself. I would love to explore with the owners on maybe working with our economic development team to see if there's any other opportunity here, because I feel like there is, because there's so much density. So I just cannot give a favorable recommendation given the saturation so far. But that does not mean I think we should not continue a conversation, because I think we do need to do what's best for the community and the residents within. But again, I appreciate you being here. So
One thing I would like to add is that what I've heard from the owners, that there are several people walking from the Cook Street with a bag full of clothes, walking all the way down from that street, going all the way in the Josie Lane, and keep walking down the other side of the street for the laundry services. I think adding a laundry services right at that corner is going to give a lot of services to the neighborhood. A lot of seniors walking along that area I have seen there. So it does feel that there is a need for an additional place, an upgraded place, a better place. Maybe that will also challenge the other businesses around the area to upgrade themselves as well, and change the look of the building of their own. Because if you look at that corner, there's only one or two buildings that has really spent some money, and this would be the third property that's going to spend money to make that look.
Okay. I was going to say, I appreciate the owner's willingness to make this investment, but with it being conditioned on it only going forward if we grant the laundromat, at this time I cannot support SUP. Granted, I don't vote, but my opinion would be if they're allowed to do 66% of what they're planning on doing anyways, and that's allowed by right in the building that's currently there and the asset that's currently there, then just given the proliferation of that same business in the area, and this being something that we as a council have to grant and think about in the long-term vision of our city at this time, that is not something that I could support. That's just how I feel about it. So, but I do appreciate coming forward, thinking about it, and definitely thinking about Farmers Branch. So, Councilmember Lynn.
So as we're having discussion here, I don't want to sit here and just say no, but what I'd like to do is see if you couldn't go back and have additional discussion with the owner of the property, and maybe have continued dialogue with the city in regards to this. I think some valid concerns have been raised, and there's probably a way to walk through some of this. So if anything, I'd almost rather table this until you have had more discussion with the city and are at a more comfortable place to bring this back before us.
Okay.
And I would agree with that. I think that if you think that you're the individuals you're representing are open to the idea, that way we can come back with something different if that's the case that they want to move forward with. So I would agree with that recommendation and propose the move to table to a future date. If that is, sorry, but you're standing up, so I figure you have some comments.
Just so that I understand the direction to you.
I can't hear.
Oh, sorry. Just for my clarification, is the direction for them to table this where they come back with either a market study or a different layout without?
Yeah, but I think we still have to make a motion.
Yeah, I'm going to make a motion to continue discussion at the next meeting, both for the public hearing and for action, but I will recommend we bring that back on the March 15th meeting.
Second.
Point of order, do you
Yeah.
want him to go back to the Planning and Zoning Commission, or you just want him to work with staff and then come back with hopefully a different variation of what's been advertised?
Well, I would ask you, does he have to go back to P&Z?
It was presented and notified as convenience store and laundromat. So if
But if
the,
it comes forward with just a convenience store and no laundromat, then we wouldn't have to re-advertise it, wouldn't have to go back.
okay,
Technically, we wouldn't have to take any action. That's allowed by right now.
okay.
So why don't you just continue the public hearing and action to the next council meeting, date, time certain, please?
Yeah,
And then we'll figure out where he's gonna go from there.
okay.
We did, the 22nd.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Good catch. Y'all are going to be out of town. Okay, so motion to continue the public hearing and this item to the March 22nd meeting.
Second.
22nd.
No, I said I second.
Oh, second. Fair. I have a second by Councilmember Ratana. Any more discussion? Please vote on your iPad at this time. Yep. Motion carries 4-1. Next is I2, conduct a public hearing and consider approving resolution number 2022-013, adopting the comprehensive policy statement on local economic development and tax abatement and business incentives, electing to be eligible to participate in tax abatement and take appropriate action. Ms. Cook.
Hello. So we don't have a presentation tonight. This is more of house cleaning, and we are required by state law to approve this every few years. So we're bringing the resolution by you tonight with the state guidelines updated.
Okay.
And again, this can allow for local incentives like tax abatements,
Awesome.
which we do fairly often.
Thank you for your presentation.
You're so welcome.
Does anyone have any comments or questions for Ms. Cook? Oh, I need to click into that. There we go. Councilmember Merritt.
Yes. Allison, if I may ask 2 questions. One, obviously, you've already referenced this as a state mandated opportunity that comes before us.
Correct.
When's the last time this came before council?
Many, many years ago.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I won't hold you to a specific.
Okay, before my time.
Fair enough. And is there a significant, or are there any changes from what was proposed and approved to what we have now?
No local changes, so that's the
No
most
local
important.
changes.
No local changes. The only changes are done at the state level, and that's why we always adopt state guidelines to be compliant.
Very good. Thank you for the clarification.
You're welcome.
That's all.
Does anyone else have any comments at this time? This is a public hearing. We do not have anyone signed up to speak, so unless there is any more discussion, we'll look for a motion to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing and approve, let me get the wording correct, approve resolution number 2022-013.
I have a motion by Councilmember Merritt,
I'll second.
second by Councilmember Williams. Is there any more discussion? Seeing no one request to speak, I will now ask you all to vote at this time. Passes unanimously. Next is I3, conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3725 to amend Plan Development District number 100, PD 100, approximately 54.5 acres located generally on the south side of Valley View Lane between Chartwell Crest and Hutton Drive, and north on Whittington Place, amending landscaping and park open space standards relating to fence requirements on corner lots, and take appropriate action. Ms. Sen.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a city-initiated zoning amendment for PD 100, or commonly known as the Kensington PD, as shown on this aerial image. The only thing we are changing with this amendment is the corner lot fence requirement, as shown on this slide with the red line Right now, corner lots are required to do wrought iron or decorative iron fences not exceeding 5 feet in height. We are proposing to give the option or add the option of providing board-on-board wood fencing not to exceed 8 feet in height. So we are leaving the choice to the homeowner. If they choose to do ornamental iron fences, they can. If they choose to do board-on-board wood fencing, they can. Again, this is an administrative amendment initiated by the city to assist the homeowners. And right now, we believe there is an estimated 26 corner lots remaining in Kensington who might benefit from this amendment. Planning and Zoning Commission considered this on January 24th and recommended approval. That's all I have. Thank you.
Does anyone have any comments or questions for Mrs. Sen at this time?
Just for point of clarification, this is to align what we already changed on the southern side of Whittington, correct? Because don't we have some of those that are allowed already on the south side of Whittington?
You mean within PD 99?
Yeah.
That's coming. The next item.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Councilmember Merritt.
So you said that there are 23 properties that this could benefit. How many properties currently have a fence up? So I'm hearing 23 are future. How many, do we know how many are up?
I do not have that number, but I can get that information to you. There are some that already have, and this will benefit them, of course.
Understood. Okay, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions at this time? No? Okay. Again, this is a public hearing. We do not have anyone signed up to speak. And if there is no more discussion, then I would look for a motion to close the public hearing and take action.
Mayor, I move to close the public hearing and take action and move for approval on ordinance number 3725.
I have a motion by Councilmember Rotana.
I second.
Second by Councilmember Williams. Is there any more discussion? I don't have anyone signed up to speak, and so I'll ask you all to vote at this time. Motion passes unanimously. Next is I-4. Conduct a public hearing and consider adopting ordinance number 3724 to rezone approximately 8.67 acre property located at 1820 Whittington Place from Plan Development District number 88 to Plan Development District number 99 to allow single-family attached townhomes and amending and restating the development regulations of Plan Development number 99 relating to the use and development of approximately 266.9 acres located generally on the south side of Valley View Lane, east and west of Luna Road, and south side of LBJ Freeway, and take appropriate action.
Thank you, Mayor. The aerial map, you're looking at two aerial photos here. The smaller image on the right is the 1820 Whittington Place property. And the larger area that is shaded in green is all of PD 99. So it's a two-step zoning process that we are looking at tonight. The first step is to, right now that 1820 Whittington Place property is zoned PD 88 or Plan Development District number 88. So with this process, we are rezoning that to PD 99. And then the second step of the zoning is we are amending PD 99 to allow for this townhome development, the concept plan on your screen, and also adjust the standards within PD 99 to not only accommodate the townhome layout and its conceptual plans, but also allow the solid board-on-board fence on corner lots, as well as update the development phasing plan for PD 99. So as shown on this layout, it's a 69-unit townhome project, 13 two-story townhome buildings, each proposed with 2-car attached garage. Each will also have 20-foot minimum driveway. A certain few number of on-street parking are also proposed. If you follow this layout, the two primary entry points or entry-exit points are through Chartwell Crest. The roadway, we don't have the names yet. When they come back for detailed site plan, that's when these roadway names are going to be finalized. Road A, Road B, and Road C, those are public right-of-ways, whereas these interior alleys, those are privately maintained accesses for this townhome lots. As you can see, most of the townhomes are going to be facing either public open space or landscape or the street with wider landscape buffer as well as street trees. Another main component with this zoning amendment is that there is a larger open space that is dedicated to the city towards the southern portion of the property. That's going to be a public park, as well as this area on the west side along Chartwell Crest. Both are going to be city park. This is phase 2, this is phase 1. A proposed parking lot is also shown that will benefit for people visiting the park. The plan also aligned with, going to the next slide on the proposed landscape plan, this plan also aligns with the PD 99 pattern book and the design standards. Trail and pedestrian connectivity is very important within this Mercer Crossing neighborhood, and the proposed development does align those goals and tries to meet those goals. Their design also follows the Texas Tudor style, so the conceptual building elevation, you will see they have tried to follow the existing building architectural style and standards. Their landscaping requirements, of course, meet what the intent of the code. What you're looking at on this slide is kind of the original reasoning behind why we are here tonight, that why we are discussing this property at all. Originally, the PD 88, and within this current property, it was slated to be an amphitheater use. And right now, the zoning requires the property to be, the PD 88 would have required it to be rezoned from urban reserve to urban center, and then require an SUP for amphitheater and helipad. However, the direction was changed during late 2020 and early 2021. We received direction from City Council that due to potential of increased traffic, noise, crime, and parking issues, it's better to look at a more compatible land use for this property. That's why the applicant worked with staff diligently over the last year and proposed this new layout. From the West Side Plan designation, this is an employment district, and I can't emphasize enough that plan is old. Thankfully, we'll update that plan with the new comprehensive plan update, and this will not sound redundant anymore. This community is primarily residential with some non-residential aspects. However, north of Valley View, it's mostly residential. So given the surrounding land uses and the request raised by the residents at that time and the context of the development, this proposed application, staff is of the opinion that it is compatible with PD 99 the way it stands now. On January 24th, P&Z considered this request and recommended approval. Other than that, there are a lot of changes that are proposed within the PD 99 ordinance itself. I'm not going to walk through them one by one. If you review the red line, that kind of helps you understand which are the main areas that were touched. Mainly, it is the development phasing plan that got the most changes. And that kind of gives us a segue to the next item. I think we decided to discuss them both.
Okay.
So if you would allow that.
If you'd like me to read that in as well. Yes. Okay. So in conjunction with I-4, we are also going to take up J1, which is consider approving resolution number 2022-027, authorizing the negotiation and execution of the amended and restated master development agreement with CADG, Mercer Crosser Holdings, LLC, related to the development of Mercer Crossing, and take appropriate action. Ms. Cook.
Okay, on your screen tonight are some of the main amendments for the development agreement, and the amphitheater tract is part of the public hearing that we're discussing for PD 99. So that's one of the main topics. So once we have that discussion, we can roll that in to the agreement. And we did a little map showing most of this is complete. So tonight we're talking about a few things left, and that would be in the green, the ones that are still growing. We have the first things. At the bottom, you have the boardwalk, and the Mercer Boardwalk has 3 shell buildings. So if you have driven by recently, you have seen the 3 shell buildings, and by July 31st, they will have at least 2 will have a tenant in them. And then we have lake dredging, and that already happened, was complete. We had an amenity center in the contract, and that's complete. And then we had a 100,000 square foot office building on Whittington, and they already have a sign on there if you've driven by lately, and that should be occupied by March 31st. The developer representative is here if you have any questions for them as well. And then part of the agreement, we have this PD 99 rezoning, because the amphitheater tract, which last year actually at the same time, we were having a discussion about it, and the residents at that time did not want the amphitheater. So in the past 12 months, we moved into having more of a public open space for an open amenity for anyone on the west side to enjoy. So the public park that you see on the diagram and from the PD shows a public park. It's not maintained by the HOA. So the city will take over that land. In this agreement, the developer will deed us the land, and we will maintain it and have an open space.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, on this one, I would ask if you'd like to speak on this item, please use your request to speak button, and I will call you in that order. So does anyone wish to speak at this time? Have any questions for Mrs. Sin as it relates to I-4 or Allison as it relates to J1?
I do.
Councilmember Ratana.
Sorry, sir, thank you. I do, but I think most of mine are to the developer.
Oh, sorry.
No,
Mr. Beatty.
I
think I have a number of questions, but they're mostly directed to the developer and/or his representative.
Yeah.
So,
Mr. Beatty, just name and address. You know this all too well.
Yes, sir. Michael Beatty, 1800 Valley View Lane, Palmas Branch. Good evening. Nice to see everybody again. We are getting really, really close to our opening of the restaurants. Thank you for all the support. I know it's been a little while, but I think once we are drinking margaritas on the boardwalk, everybody will be a lot happier. Yes, ma'am.
Just got to watch out for Judy Bird out there.
She'll be there opening night.
thank you so much, Mayor. If it's all right, I have a number of questions. So, Mr. Beatty, please bear with me. Some of it is contextual, historical, but really it's followed by the questions that I want to make sure that we address here, especially for those that are here and those that are listening. So we had the P&Z meeting at the end of January, at which point there was a realization that after the mayor and I's direction to have a meeting prior to the planning and zoning meeting, there wasn't one held. So we did hold a community meeting, and I really appreciate you being there and spending about 2.5 hours with us and the residents on making sure that we answer the questions. And so with some of those questions, I want to just go ahead and see if we can just get some of those answers. And so my first would be, my understanding after that meeting is that all of the lots have been sold. At least that's what was advised during that community meeting on February 2nd. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. It's the same builder that's in Kensington today, First Texas, and they'll be building the same homes.
Perfect. Thank you. So that being true, my understanding is also that we have advised residents that, or you've advised residents that you'd be working with your team to start preparing all of the necessary information and paperwork and actions to turn over the HOA now that all the lots have been sold as soon as possible. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, sir. How long will that process take? And after that process, will residents have complete control of that HOA, i.e. changing contracts, making those types of rulings and changes, but how long would that process take?
I believe it'll take another 3 to 6 months. We had the 2 board members last year, one appointed, one elected, and I've had conversations with Essex subsequent to our meetings to go ahead and restart the election process. We did have a conversation about the previous election using the results, like who was first runner-up or second runner-up. We've had so many people move in the neighborhood, and they think there might also be some conflict with the property code. So it looks like, unless I hear different from the attorney tomorrow, that it'll be new elections. They're going to post the call for candidates by the end of the week, and then have that election mid-March. And we want to do it like 1 or 2 seats at a time. We don't want to just dump. There's still a process to go through.
Sure, and that was going to be my next question, if there's a possibility to go ahead just due to the interest of time to make sure that there's a voice for the residents to see if we could go ahead and move with the second 2, but you're saying that due to potential legal type of issues that you most likely will have to go with a new election. Okay.
They are going to double check, but my understanding prior to this meeting tonight is that due to the time that's passed, it would be a new election.
And I would just make sure that when you do, make sure to have that open line of communication with the residents.
Well, when I spoke with them, we have to do a direct mailing because of the size of the neighborhood, along with the email blast. So that's really the time consumer is getting the mailer out. But they're telling me that can be done by the end of the week.
Perfect.
And then call for candidates is a 2-week period. We close the ballots first week of March, and then have the election, close that by probably March 15th, middle of the month.
Perfect. Thank you, sir. There were also a number of issues that were brought up during that discussion related to the increased density for this project and need for further amenities due to accommodate that increase. And I know since then you have done a little bit of research and due diligence to see how that's all going as far as just the additional amenities, for example, gyms, potential extensions of certain amenities that are already being planned for the west and the Kensington side. Can you shed any light on what those plans may be to ensure?
We went through the last year of card swipes, which is tracking the entries into the existing amenity center, the main amenity center, because there's a separate amenity center in off of Whittington, in Windermere today, and there's a third amenity center to be constructed in Kensington. But in the main amenity center, our peak swipes were 24 people, or 24 individual swipes over a 24-hour period. I then asked them to refine that, because that doesn't really tell us that much information, and look at peak usage time, especially for the gym. We have security cameras. They put together time lapses, and my understanding is that we're peaking about 6 to 8 people in the existing amenity center workout area. I also did a site visit with Essex and the other property, the gentleman that actually built that building for us, and we've identified a space on the opposite side of the existing amenity center that's already under roof, air conditioned. It was just being used as storage, where if we get to a place where we either spread out the equipment that we have for more room or bring in some additional equipment, we have that space available on site today. I would need to take out one partition wall. It's minor, and we're looking to do that when we redo the flooring, because the flooring is buckled.
Yes, and that's there are a number of issues there as well. And so I would just encourage you to have that conversation with residents, especially now that they'll be taking over, because who would assume that cost? And I would hate for that cost to be a burden for the residents, due to the fact that we're adding these additional amenities because of the density. And I would hate for them to have to pay for something like that. And also make sure that whatever is being installed is something that the residents want to be installed. I will say, in talking to a few, that some of them just stopped going to the gym because they knew it was so small, and every time they would go, there wouldn't be enough room, or there isn't enough equipment. That's just one example of some of the amenities, because one thing to understand is the amenity center in off Chartwell is the only one that really has a lot of the assets when it comes to a community meeting, community space, a gym and things like that. The other amenity centers are connected to the pool, and it isn't a large space like that. So anybody that wants to go to the gym, that wants a large community space, the only space they really have is the one at Chartwell Crest. So I just want to make sure to make that distinction. My next question, as far as this particular project, how will the additional number of townhomes affect PID fees and HOA dues?
It will dilute the HOA dues because you're adding additional people with the existing infrastructure in place. So there's opportunity for reduction there, or at least delay any future increases because of the additional people paying in. The PID assessments are separate. We have to keep everybody on par. So if we're successful in our request for the townhome lots tonight, we will end up with the same assessment on those townhomes as the other townhomes in Kensington and Mercer Crossing, the rest of it.
And I know that the PID fees paid for a lot of the infrastructure, and there is some infrastructure that is slated to be added for this particular development. That infrastructure is to be paid by you all, by the developer, as it relates to this project, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And if there's additional PID funds through the additional assessment that are available as a partial credit against that, that will be part of what we're going to work out with the PID administrator.
Okay. There were also a number of issues related to the advertisement, and I think that was a big issue for the Kensington community, from builders that were showing what was being proposed versus what's actually going to be built. Many of the neighbors purchased homes there, as you heard from the community meeting, and promised certain amenities, and just now realized that that's indeed not going to be the case, i.e. amphitheater. And so what actions, I know that you've done your due diligence, so what actions have you taken since then to address those concerns? And can you elaborate a little bit on some of those?
When we first started down this path a year ago, we had reached out to the 2 different builders that were marketing in Kensington and had a discussion about what we were trying to change. Our marketing department because over the summer, we talked about making specific changes to the actual peripherals that are handed out. We have to match what's currently approved. We're actually under contract to perform with the city and build that amphitheater based on the development agreement, subject to the changes that you have in front of you tonight. So legally, we could not remove it, but we tried to at least explain what's in process. Hopefully, after this evening, we can make that formal change, take all the old collaterals back in, and reissue new collaterals and have that removed. And we get to show the city park.
Perfect, thank you. And this may be a question for staff, so I apologize. But if we want to make changes to, because right now there's a parking lot right there as part of the plans. If we wanted to change parking arrangements to this plan, do we need to make those changes now, or can we do that? Should this be approved, could we do that at a later time? The only reason I ask is because that parking lot is in very valuable park space, just because it's closer to the water. And so I would hate for us to go ahead and put that infrastructure there and then go through the whole community input planning for a park, and then realize that this could have been used for a different type of opportunity. And so if there's an opportunity to potentially have that as a potentially future item and still have you all, because I know you all were going to invest in putting that parking lot together, still have that option if it's needed, or in a different iteration where it doesn't cost more, may cost less, but just not limit us to adding a more extensive parking or park structure based on input from residents. Is that something that we need to do right now, or is it something that we will that will be a part of the planning process should this item move forward?
With this process, what we are getting is the conceptual layout. So they are required to come back for a detailed site plan. However, the contract, that's where I need to rely on Pete Smith and his office, that I believe there is a number not to exceed or not less than 20 parking spaces that has been listed in the contract. But the location is to be determined at the site plan phase. So from that side, if the location is the concern, if I'm understanding it correctly, then that can be addressed at the detailed site plan. But the number, we have a minimum, we don't have a maximum, so.
Got it. Perfect, thank you. I just want to make sure there's that option and we're not bound to it, because I would hate for us to build it and then decide we could have put something else with a much better use. And then my last question, and this is to you, Mr. Beatty, should this plan be approved, my understanding is that this would be the last change related to this development for these sites. Is that correct?
I might get struck by lightning. I'm not. Yes, ma'am. Although Gas Monkey, I'll be here in April, so, but that's a positive change.
That's a separate, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And those are all the questions I have right now, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Rotana. Mr. Cox.
Mr. Beatty, I thank you for being here this evening. I want to, if I could, get some clarification from you on something you just mentioned to Councilwoman Rotana. For this particular PID financing, there was a project and financing plan that were approved and adopted, and assessments were levied to cover the debt that was issued. The original plan did not contemplate these townhomes.
Yes, sir.
And so I think I heard you say is that the new assessments that will be coming in based on these new townhomes would not be recalculated, and essentially, because we're having more units to be assessed against, my original assumption was that would reduce to some degree or cause a recalculation of everyone else's assessment. But I didn't hear you say that. I heard you say that they would be the same, the townhomes would be at the same level as existing townhomes, which would mean that cumulatively you'd have a greater amount of revenue coming in that could pay for additional infrastructure.
Yes, sir.
And that's a new piece of information.
That is my current understanding. We've tried to engage with MuniCap to get a better clarity, and my understanding is they've been instructed to wait until the use is actually approved. And then any subsequent action from that would require an amendment to the SAP. So there's no commitment tonight from council regarding additional assessment increase or going across that. It would, and MuniCap would not engage with me until the use is available. Because currently there's an assessment on the office use that was previously under the original service and assessment plan. It's about a $389,000 assessment on the office portion of that property. And the requested 69 townhomes would be an additional, they're levied higher than the office use was. It's a more intense use. But we have not been able to come to any complete resolution with MuniCap. They've been put on hold by the city until we resolve the use issue.
Okay, good. I just want to, that's not a done deal.
Yes, sir. Understood.
And I want to mention that MuniCap works for the city.
Yes, sir.
And they're responsible for recalculating that, kind of the pie, so to speak. And if the pie is growing bigger, then
Yes, sir.
everyone within it would get a lesser assessment. So that's still ongoing discussion. So I just want to make sure that we don't put the message out there that the assessments on existing properties won't change, because I do believe they will.
Okay, understood.
Does anyone else have any comments or question, either for Ms. Sen, Ms. Cook, or Mr. Beatty? Okay, this is a public hearing. Thank you. We have two people.
I do have one, I'm so sorry.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Actually, I'll have my comments right before we take a vote. Thank you, sir.
First up to speak is Kanika Maheshwari. Kanika Maheshwari. Okay. Next up is Kristen Morgan. Kristen Morgan. That is all for everyone that has signed up to speak. So with that, I guess if there's any more discussion, we can have so at this time. Councilmember Ratana.
Thank you, sir. So we've been having these conversations, questions, concerns on this development since before I even got on council. I was on planning and zoning. Even before that, when the plan was originally shared, before I think any of us were even on council. I've had several meetings with community members over the last couple of years, individually as well with residents, trying to make sure happenings were transparent, making sure that issues and concerns were being addressed, and just creating a platform just to make sure that the conversations were going both ways. I must say that after talking with residents over the last few years, there have been a number of issues that with this development and the progression of these changes to the Mercer development that have been laid out. I mean, from the beginning, we had issues with, advertising that was, out there that did not mimic what was actually being proposed. I think that was a year ago, and that's something that Mr. Beatty, you mentioned that was taken down. I think a lot of it has been just with the lack of communication from the HOA, making sure that residents were able to attend meetings at appropriate times, making sure that the times were appropriate for residents to attend. There has not been many community meetings to discuss the proposed changes, especially one that we definitely needed to do before the planning and zoning meeting, although we did have them thereafter. There really has not been really a great cadence for these meetings, so residents could really address concerns related to just anything from landscaping to other amenity issues. However, having said all that, I do believe that there's an opportunity here. I appreciate Mr. Beatty's time in addressing a lot of those concerns a couple of weeks ago. I also think this is an educational opportunity and something that I've already brought up with our planning and zoning process in and of itself, making sure that we enhance the notifications, not do the minimum of what the state requires, but go above that and really go outside of that 200-foot range and have a better opportunity for folks to really go online and know exactly what's being proposed and some of the signage that they see. Since living on the west side myself for a number of years, the area has been lacking city amenities and public spaces. And as we alluded to earlier, a year ago we came to City Council and there was a proposal for the 3,000-person private amphitheater that was proposed. And there were a large number of residents and staff has all of the correspondence to prove that that shared that that they thought this would have a negative effect due to potential crime, parking issues, and just having non-residents, out late in their neighborhood, in their backyard. So, having a large, in my opinion, having a large city-operated park amenity at this site is one of the best uses, I believe, for this area. And even over the last few weeks, having received a number of correspondence from different, residents within the area, there's still a large number of folks that feel the same way, that want that amenity and don't want that 4-story, 3,000-person private amphitheater right in their backyard. This park space, I think, is going to be created. It is going to be created with community input and engagement to mirror the quality of our city and park system that we have all throughout our city. And for the developer to make this as part of that development and deeding over that land and paying for that infrastructure, as was mentioned earlier by Mr. Beatty, is a good opportunity. But I do want to acknowledge the work of the developer and staff over the last year to try to find a different alternative due to direction from residents and then to council. And I just hope that the HOA Essex will continue to address, as well as the developer, the concerns and keep us abreast of those changes and how you will address those and make sure that there is more transparency and communication between the HOA and the residents, as you mentioned. Although I don't agree with the way the communications have been over the last couple of years related to this development, I do believe this plan is what's best for the future of our city. And my hope is that we can continue that momentum and find innovative ways to continue to add some additional amenities, whether it be a community center, a satellite library, because we want to make sure that every single resident of our city, whether you live on the east side, the west side, feels connected. And I think the biggest issue here is that there is a large thoroughfare of I-35 that seemingly has, that can potentially disconnect that. And so we want to make sure that that does not happen. And so I think, I want to thank all of the residents for all of your input, all of your time, the last minute meetings, the last minute calls, those that are here and those that are listening. Just want to let you know that I thank you for all of your insights, your concerns. I wish there was more time for our newer residents, but just know that that we're listening and that we're here for you. And I think I speak for the entire council when I say that we look forward to working with the residents to make sure that we work together for the future planning of that west side, as Shrupa mentioned, as part of that comprehensive plan. So thank you, Mayor, for allowing me to say those comments. I just really think it's important, and it was important for our residents to know kind of some of the history, but also really just my opinion and also the opinion of a lot of the residents that have reached out to me to say that we think that this is the best plan for this space. So I appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any comments or discussion at this time? Seeing none, I would look for a motion to close the public hearing, adopt, or take other action on ordinance number 3724, and take action on resolution number 2022027.
I hope I do this right. Mayor, I move to close the public hearing and move for approval ordinance number 3724, as well as resolution number 2022-027 as presented.
I have a motion by Councilmember Ratana.
A second.
A second by Councilmember Williams. Is there any more discussion? I don't see anyone requesting to speak, so with that, I will ask you to mark your vote at this time. Motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Next is J2. Consider approving resolution number 2022-028, changing the name of Orrin Good All Children's Park to Hoya Park, and take appropriate action. Mr. Mashburn and Mr. Stewart.
All right. Good evening, Mayor, Council.
And Ms. Langhorst.
Mike Mashburn, Director of Parks and Recreation. With me today, I have Bob Stewart, Chair of the Parks and Recreation Board, Sarah Langhorst, Vice Chair. They're going to take it away, give you some brief background on Hoya Park and the name change that we're proposing.
Thank you, Council. A little bit of background, Orrin Good All Children's Park, located at the corner of Tomfield Road and Valley View Lane, currently houses a small playground and open green space. In September of 2021, City Council formally approved construction of a one-of-a-kind, night-themed signature park to take its place. Planning is currently underway with an expected grand reopening schedule for the summer of 2023. The statement piece of this signature park is a 30-foot by 70-foot orb, which is shaped like a spear or a globe, with reflective panels that is reminiscent of a jewel. The Parks and Recreation Board discussed possible names for the park and has recommended the name Joya, the Spanish word for jewel. Once complete, the park will serve as one of the crown jewels of the city, giving the name multiple meanings. Questions?
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Stewart or Mrs. Langhorst? Councilmember Rotana?
Thanks, sir. I need to wait until you give me the floor. I appreciate that. I get excited. I just want to thank you for your time and due diligence in exploring this. I know that, in talking to this with residents, they've asked the question, what does Joya mean? And I think it resonates with just being the jewel of the city that we're in. And so I just really appreciate your hard work on this and all the dedication that you have to our park. So really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. We're really excited about this. It's going to be an awesome site. I mean, you can probably see it from Interstate 35, and it's just going to. I think the residents are, really going to love this place, especially since it's going to be a nighttime theme park. So it's going to be one of the few outdoor lit public parks in the area, and it's a one of a kind.
Councilmember Merritt.
Bob, Sarah, thank you so much for all the work you've done so far. Pleasure to serve with you both on the Parks Board and bringing this idea forward with the leadership that Mike Mashburn has brought to us. I'm very supportive of this idea, this concept, and building upon the anchor of that entire parks complex that we have there. And so it's a great footprint, if you will, to expand the utilization of that and the cross-pollination, if you will, of events that are going on and the multi-use that can be derived from that. So I'm very excited about that. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you. Councilmember Lynn.
Well, I know y'all put a lot of work into this, and sitting in my position, I've heard from residents. I don't know if any of them came to any of your meetings to inquire as to the name, but one thing I did hear repeatedly was, and I really feel like the city and the park board missed the mark in not allowing the residents to name this fine park. This is a major addition for our city, and in listening to folks talk about it, I was like, I don't know. I don't know why. I mentioned it to Mike Mashburn. I purposely did not come to the park board meetings. I don't believe it's proper for me to come and try to influence the board in any way, but I do know that there were residents who wanted to have a say in naming this, and I feel like we sort of let them down in a way. Probably won't stop them from using it, but something this big, we probably should have included everybody in the process. And that would be my recommendation moving forward if we ever do something else like this in the future.
Thank you.
Councilman Lynn, if I may, per the ordinance, our naming typically goes through the Parks Board and then is recommended to City Council. So if that's something we want to change in the future, we just need to change the ordinance.
Okay. Councilmember Williams.
I was just going to comment the same. I thought that the whole process of naming parks was never open to the public at large. That's why the council appoints our residents onto our boards. Opening something like that at large, I could see that could be really problematic situation. So I just want to tell our boards how much we appreciate you, the Parks and Recs Board. We appreciate your hard work. We know that you are out there with your fingers on the pulse of our residents. I think the name is fantastic, and I think it's reflective, again, like we talked about earlier, the diversity of our city. And so I say kudos to you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Driscoll.
Yes. Thank you for your work. And of course, we've discussed this before and had presentations. I think this is kind of a revolutionary urban park. And I've had some discussions with Mike on this, and also some of the citizens groups that met at the rec center last year and discussed the park and its amenities and what the children wanted, the different age groups. And I know some of the folks that participated. So my hat's off to you for a job well done. And as to the point of naming the park, I have not heard from one citizen that opposes the name of the park. I've heard from several people who like the name of the park. And also, I would like to say that collectively here, all of us on City Council, we painstakingly go through every year reviewing people who sit on the boards and commissions. And I think that we need to, and we have empowered all of the boards and commissions to put forth their best efforts in the work that they do. And I think they all do a great job, and you guys certainly do. And we take pride, obviously, in the parks. That's part of our motif. It's part of our brand. And I'm quite happy with the park. I'm quite happy with the name of the park. And I don't see any need to change it, that we have to have a popular vote on every park or everything we do in the city. I think that would just slow down the process, and I don't think we need to micromanage everything. That's why we have the boards and commissions, and we collectively can appoint or remove people should we want to, or change the task and the goals of the different boards and commissions. So that's all I have to say. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any additional comments? Councilmember Len.
Well, of course, I expected this, so let me just say, just so I can put it out there, the parks and all the city amenities belong to all the residents of the city. And we didn't have a problem when we included all of the all of the users of the branch connection when we involved them in the renaming of the senior center to what it is today. It went quite smoothly. People felt like they were involved. Actually, the senior advisory board had some fun with it. It was interesting to see the names that people came up with. So, you know, we sit up here, we were elected to represent, not dictate. It means we listen. And obviously, we're listening to the board because you all have made your decision and your recommendation to us. Again, this, I'll say it again so there's no misunderstanding, that this is a big addition to our city, and it should prove to be a major attraction. And because of that, and the wide variety of people that it's going to attract, hopefully from our city, I'm sure we'll get some from other cities also, it was mentioned to me that we should have involved the citizens in it. And I don't think you can ever go wrong when you involve citizens. Your mind may have been made up, and that's fine, but allowing residents, which are the true stakeholders, to have a say in something I just don't think you can go wrong doing that. Amen. So that's it. I'm not looking to create an argument with anybody.
All good, man. Does anyone else have any additional comments? If not, I would make a motion to approve resolution number, well, this is your district.
Second.
Hold on. You can still second it, though.
I move to approve Resolution 2022-028.
I have a motion by Councilmember Williams.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Driscoll. Is there any more discussion? I will now ask you all to vote. Motion carries 4 yeses, 0 noes, 1 abstention, which I believe is a yes vote. So motion carries. Seeing that we have no other business to conduct tonight, I will adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. Oh, it wasn't listed on the, so we don't have any action as a result of the executive session. The item that was discussed there will be coming to y'all at a future council meeting. We will have opportunity for residents to listen, participate, and hear it in more than one meeting. So with that, I will still adjourn tonight's meeting at 7:30 p.m. Good night.